This is Luke Paulson, the Catholic Conservative, and welcome to the news of the week for March 4th, 2023. And if you enjoy these videos, do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. Tucker Carlson gets the footage. Kevin McCarthy has made one of his boldest moves yet. He has released 40,000 hours of surveillance footage of the mostly peaceful protest of January 6th to Tucker Carlson. We already know that the people were let in.
I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room. But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad. I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room.
Oh, there we go.
But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad. I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room. But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad. I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room. But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad. I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room. But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad. I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room. But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad.
We already know that Ray Epps was with the FBI.
In fact, tomorrow, I don't even like to say it because I'll be arrested.
Well, let's not say it.
We need to go, I'll say it.
All right.
We need to go in.
Shut the fuck up, Boomer.
To the Capitol.
We already know that the vast majority just walked in and thought little about it as they stayed behind the ropes. It is the definition of a false flag and Reichstag to muddy the waters for future Republican candidates. It is about time that this footage was made public by one of the last real outlets of news in the country. Queer doctor calls out transition. There are a lot of people calling out the exploitation of children in gender clinics. Most of them are from strong Christian or conservative backgrounds. As such, the communities that need to hear them the most cannot or will not hear them. That changes now. A former employee at one of these clinics has broken her silence and has decided to go public. This is not just some random person. It is a queer woman who is married to a trans man. Amongst her revelations is that to get started, the girl needs what amounts to a rubber stamp from a psychologist and nothing more. She and her parents are told that gender dysphoria often leads to suicide. What the girl and her parents are not told is that most grow out of it, essentially as a part of being uncomfortable as an adolescent. Hundreds of clinics like hers use bicalutamide, which is a cancer drug for prostate cancer that can result in liver toxicity. Testosterone even tears the vaginal lining, needing surgical correction. There is no reason to believe that this is an outlier because these clinics are everywhere. Suicide to defuse the bomb. What do we know about so-called voluntary programs by the government? They eventually become mandatory, like Social Security. In Japan, most of the population is in favor of voluntary euthanasia. However, how long until it is mandatory?
'Twas never a matter of if, only when.
A Yale professor, Yusuke Narita, decided to say that ritualistic disembowelment of disgraced samurai was the best way to deal with an aging population. Officially, his remarks were taken out of context, and they only referred to getting rid of leaders that have been in the game for countless ages.
You are the oldest president ever.
Pretty good shape, huh?
Which leads to my next question. You are more aware of this than anyone. Some people ask whether you are fit for the job. And when you hear that, I wonder what you think.
Watch me.
Something tells me that this was some big-mouthed liberal elitist who said too much and had to clarify. I suspect we took it exactly how he meant it, even though we were not supposed to. Kavanaugh Accuser recants. Yet another accuser of now Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh has recanted her official story. Judy Monroe Layton was one of the 3 women that decided to accuse Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault. For the life of me, I cannot imagine how some people get pleasure out of ruining other people's lives. The best part is that she is now facing charges for lying during a congressional probe. Like some people should. She is also admitting that the letter that she wrote to Kamala Harris about the incident was not even written by her. I have words for women like her, but none of them are suitable for YouTube or whatever platform that you are watching on. Scott Adams is cancelled. Scott Adams is famous for creating the wildly popular strip Dilbert about life in the office. He hosts a podcast in which he made some comments about a certain swath of the population that you are not allowed to criticize. He noted that certain demographics are responsible for high crime rates and advised those of a low melanin concentration to avoid areas where people have a high melanin concentration.
And the cycle continues. So please, black folks, as I said, if this doesn't apply to you, I'm not talking to you. Pay attention to and think about what has been presented in recent history as acceptable behavior. Pay close attention to the hip-hop and rap culture that many of you embrace, a culture that glorifies everything I just mentioned, thug and reprehensible behavior, a culture that is making a lot of people rich, just not you, and it's not going to.
As a result, his strip has been pulled by just about every paper out of fear of repercussions. The same people who would target the paper for keeping the strip are the same people who would burn cities to the ground in retaliation for a man dying from a drug overdose before the officer even got him on the ground. Scott Adams, as a true freedom fighter, decided to just go out with style and not even fight it. He can already retire, and now since he has nothing left to cancel, he can be even more vocal.
Ironic.
Canceling the wrong person often makes them even more dangerous to commies. Fake News admits it was a lab leak. I wonder how many people were put in Facebook jail, or had videos taken down over things that the fake news said were untrue about the China virus, that were proven to be true a few months later. The United States Department of Energy now believes that the China virus may have begun in a lab. That is what the so-called conspiracy theorists have been saying since the start. Gain-of-function research or intentionally mutating viruses to make new vaccines?
There's something awfully screwy going on around here.
Now the FBI is saying that the lab leak is the most likely explanation. Being a conspiracy theorist just means that you are a few years ahead of the news. Kansas defines a woman. Matt Walsh made a documentary not too long ago and asked the simple question, what is a woman? Now, for the last 6,000 years of recorded history, humanity has defined a woman as being an adult human female. Then the liberal arts professors came onto the scene. They began defining a woman by what the person believes about themselves. By their reasoning, women can impregnate men. Of course, those with any scientific literacy know that this is impossible. Kansas has taken the first step and defined a woman as a biological female for all legal purposes. That distinction is important because there are not only genetic differences and different organs. The size and dimensions of organs and even organ systems are vastly different. You can identify as an eagle, but if you jump off the Empire State Building, you will identify as a pancake. This is a law that should not have to be passed. Tennessee defines child appropriate. The best way to determine what a conservative bill will do is to see what the fake news says that it will do, and then you can determine what it will not do. Case in point, a law in Tennessee forbids drag shows near schools and in public places. The fake news has decided that this is an attack on trans children. Even though I showed just a few minutes ago that the transition itself is harming children according to a former doctor in one of these clinics. Drag queens are even fearing for their lives since cops can be called on them at any time. If you want your private business to have one of these shows, be my guest. Just do not perform for children. We have seen over and over again that these performances are sexualized for a reason. The question that you need to ask yourself is this: why do these grown men want to expose themselves to children? The answer is obvious. The powers that be are trying to desensitize children so that the next phase can begin. All they wanted was the right to get married, they said, and now look at where we are. Again, this is a law that should not have to be passed. Georgia holds schools accountable. What happens when you share explicit material in school textbooks at a school board meeting? You get kicked out of the meeting because they do not want to hear it. They only want to desensitize children so that the next phase can begin. A new Georgia law will penalize school librarians that have sexually explicit materials in their libraries. The same obscene material that you cannot describe at a school board meeting. The same material that any movie theater would keep children out of. That is the material that is being removed. Why do people want to give pornographic images to children? Last I checked, that was illegal and would put you on several watch lists. Once more, this is a law that should not have to be passed. No life on Mars. There is no life on Mars, and there never has been. Scientists have been trying to find life on Mars for years. Yet, they cannot recognize life in the womb. The equipment that is used to try and detect life has yet to find anything whatsoever. So to ensure that the equipment is working properly, scientists took the same equipment to the Chilean desert. Since there is life in Chile, because it is on God's green earth, it should be able to detect life. However, the system cannot even detect life on Earth. What was the conclusion of the scientists? It was not that we need to stop wasting money because there is no life on Mars. They concluded that life must be so different on Mars that we cannot detect it. Recall that they cannot even detect it on Earth. What a fine waste of money. Canada kills children. Canada is an abysmal country full of socialism. These two may or may not be related. Euthanasia started with terminally ill adults. Then it was for those who were terminally depressed. Then it was for those who were untreatable. Now Canada is extending the treatment to minors without parental consent. Kids cannot even consent to alcohol, tattoos, or smoking because they harm the body of someone who does not have all of his or her faculties. Why would you authorize the execution of a child on the whim of the child? As I mentioned with the Yale professor, this may very soon be mandatory. How long before children are taken by CPS because the parents do not consent to the death of their child? We already have children taken away because the parents do not consent to transition, and some countries are forcibly vaccinating children.
'Twas never a matter of if, only when.
Tuttle Twins is back. On Tuesday, Tuttle Twins will be back.
We're being chased by space pirates again?
Technically, they're sewer ninjas now.
So we're running from knockoffs of the Teenage Mutant Ninja?
No, but they look exactly like... Trust me, niños! It's a very important legal distinction. You're entitled to. Don't force others to work for you.
You mean peace? Who threw those away?
George
The
Washington!
oatmeal guy!
Maybe clean your glasses. George Washington!
Oh, you're here. I was checking for pimples. You have none. Your skin is flawless. Yeah.
They will be covering things like coercion versus charity, true socialism, and unintended consequences. They make learning fun, and I enjoy their brand of humor. This just proves that there is a market for conservative content. Kids do not need to learn to hate America, but that is just what they will learn on the main networks. It really is quite sad. Maybe I'm just blowing smoke. Maybe I'm completely off my rocker, but that is just my opinion. And if you enjoyed this content, do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. And also don't forget to follow me on social media.